Welcome back! I'm on fire. I'm recording video after video. This group is quite intensive. We see the standings after 2 games. I managed to be on position 1 with 7 points, and behind me there are Nickelback and Yaba with both 6 points and Bright Future with 1 point. But I would not count anyone out or count anyone in yet. It's going to be a wild ride, I guess, the rest of the games. So let's look at the next game, which is a 3-player game. And here it is. I'm playing against Yaba and Bright Future. I am in the first position, Yaba in the second, and Bright Future in the third. So let's look at the leaders and wonders. Here's the button. What do we see? We see Bill Gates Einstein with Manhattan Project Spaceflight. So even Steve Jobs. Labs, scientific methods and computers can be very good in this game. We see Gandhi, which is always important to note. We don't see any exceptional H2 wonders like Ocean Liner or Suez Canal, so all of these wonders are kind of viable in their situations. Kind of same in H1, nothing crazy. It's a good solid mix of solid wonders, I would say. And yeah, there's some aggressive potential in this game, definitely. There are quite some military leaders with Catherine, Napoleon, Maria. Even Robespierre gives a red cube. But there's Gandhi to note. And yeah, that's, I think, all the information that I get from this screen. So let's go into the game. I have the choice here of starting with Roman roads, one of the 2 leaders, or engineering genius, and I actually like the engineering genius. I'm okay if I don't get one of these 2 wonders, pyramids or Colosseum. I guess pyramids I never get, but I might get the Colosseum, and I would be okay with that. But even if I had to skip, I could go for, well, it's actually not the best HA skip game. Because of these wonders, you only really want to have the university early on, or the castle. All the other wonders are kind of situational. The problem with St. Pete's is ravages. It's so susceptible to ravages, it can destroy your entire civilization if you lose the St. Pete's. So if that was not an option, then this would also be a good wonder for an HA skip. But still not as good as Universitas, I guess. But it would be okay. I decided to go for the genius. I guess you could also start with the Rome roads, but that's a close call, I guess. I would definitely be okay with playing Colosseum in the 3-player game. Yaba starts with the Roman roads, so doesn't take the pyramids. He wants to have Roman roads and a leader, Omer. I don't know if it's the best combination, those 2, because the one problem I have with the Roman roads, I think it's a really solid wonder, but the one problem I have with it is that it takes 4 civil actions. That's just expensive, and Homer will take an extra civil action at some point. That's my one problem with the combination. Let's see if he can overcome these problems, or if we see that it actually is somewhat of a problem. And Bright Future goes for pyramids and Moses. Yeah, I would probably do exactly the same. So I have Colosseum on 1, or the library drops. Yeah, that's also, of course, another option, that one of the other wonders drops, and library is definitely a good option. And let's see, I go for Hippocrates. I think he's a really solid leader, and he's the one-on-one civil action, so I don't have to think too much about taking anyone else. I do like him. And I actually decide to wait for the library because I really prefer it over the Colosseum. Colosseum is okay, I guess, but it's not that good. That would be my assessment of the Wonder. Oh, that's a very good draw, actually. Let's see if there's a Columbus in the game. It isn't, but it's still nice to see the vast and maybe go to a position, try to create a position where you can seed it and most likely win it. Can boost the civilization very nicely. That being said, you should kind of be, I guess, cautious about just seeding it randomly and not creating that position where you can win it safely, because it can be just too good for someone else. Yaba starts building the Wonder, interestingly. He just starts building the Wonder. That's something I don't see very often. Right now he would rely on extra rocks from events to finish it. Or he can go for rich land and one stage. A mine and one stage. So next turn with the rich land. What would be the alternative? Elect, build the mine. Yeah, and then there's just nothing to do. I kinda understand what he did there. He would have 2 civil actions left, and then it would be Richland and or any any of these cards. So there's no cards to take. So maybe that's even just correct. Could think about not electing Homer. That's the new setting where it just proceeds at some point. I guess that's okay. Not electing Homer, build the mine, and just take Swordsman or Irrigation. That doesn't feel great as well, but maybe he found the best option actually. So he just he's kind of efficient with his civil actions right now. As I said, this Wonder has the civil action problem, and he just loses 1 rock. Does he? But this Wonder also gives rock income. If there will be some rocks revealed from possibly 2 events, then he can just finish it and be done with that. So yeah, interesting. That's something you don't see that often, but I think we found some arguments why it makes sense, I guess. And Bright Future goes for Moses, builds the mine, so just a standard turn, and takes the Orban Grove. Nothing special here. Yeah, actually one thing you can do is what I also prefer maybe is not take a yellow card, because they are actually very bad, and just populate again. That means he cannot populate next turn, but he can maybe do something better with the civil actions than this. But it's a close call. And if there's some food revealed, possibly from 3 events, then he can populate again. And then maybe there's already an H1 leader that he can take for 2 civil actions, maybe 3. It's still just another option, but yeah, that's a close call, as a lot of things. So we see the development of science revealed, and yeah, I actually decided to just go for the vast, so who needs to be careful? I do like to seed events. I think seeding events is has a lot of value because it can improve the turn that you have right now, and it creates information, it gives culture, so I do like to be more on the verge of seeding in doubt than not seeding in doubt. And sometimes it does backfire, but I think it's generally the right approach. That being said, I don't know about the vast territory. I think the argument I have is I have a good tactic in hand. It's a medieval army, and it's actually a very good tactic to contest a vast territory, because sending one medieval army plus possibly 1 or 2 colonization cards is actually a good way to contest that territory. I go for the library. I build the library instead of going for the philosophy. I guess the advantage is that I don't have to spend the worker and can stay out of consumption for some more time. And also with the other turn, with building the philosophy, I would also have 2 kinda awkward selections left. It's 1, 2, right? Yeah. Could take irrigation, could take swordsman, but I kinda like finishing this A wonder quickly. It also gives me some options to possibly go for Taj Mahal or Himeji Castle next turn, so. Again, close decision, but I think I prefer finishing the library if I can. And I pay that 1 science for the flexibility I have after that. Java takes irrigation for 1. He sadly apparently couldn't seed, so gaining rocks is not an option. So he does the turn that we discussed, builds the mine and builds another stage of the Roman roads. Takes irrigation, takes swordsman, yeah? Now, yeah. Looks good. Bright Future goes for the lab. Also doesn't seed. Populates, takes the monarchy. That's an easy call. Very early monarchy. He can even think about the revolution next turn, because he's not in corruption. Unless we open some events to corrupt him, but I don't have an event. I gladly swap to Jeanne d'Arc. I guess she's just a very solid leader. She's here on 1 civil action. Could consider Gutenberg, I guess. I don't have that lab build. Could be an option, actually. I do think Gutenberg can be very, very strong. I think can be stronger in 1-on-1s, but even in 3-player, if you don't have an alchemy yet. Yeah, that being said, that alchemy I probably won't get, and I don't know when I will get the other one. And yeah, what makes him a little worse than in 1-on-1 is that printing presses are not that good of an option, and in 1-on-1 you don't really care if you get printing press or alchemy with him. Just want to use him every turn. So I guess in 3-player, yeah, he has this one problem where printing presses are mostly not that great. So I take Jeanne d'Arc, I elect Jeanne d'Arc, I finish the library, and yeah, I guess that's the reason why I went with that option. I go for castle. I prefer the castle even over the Taj Mahal. That would cost me only... Why does it show 1? Shouldn't it be 0? It actually updated it with this, right? Yeah, it should have been 0. Yeah, I think the castle is a very good, probably S tier wonder, and the Taj Mahal is more situational. It can be good, but I think it's good in the situations where you have abundant rocks and you need to put in somewhere, and then it's really okay, I think. But the castle is overall better, and yeah, I went for this. And I do draw an event, that's nice, also a nice tactic. As we saw, actually I did not offer the open borders agreement. In this game I decided against it, other than the last game. Since I'm just going for the 3rd red cube, and it's just too good the fourth red group is obviously not nearly as good as the third red cube, so I didn't want to give an opponent a third red cube, especially with the vast territory in. And yeah, here I think I'm also a little sad that I have not drawn a colonization card yet, but there will be some turns left until the vast is revealed. Yaba finishes the wonder, builds a warrior, makes use of Homer, populates, takes knights. So he has some military options with Homer. It's a very good plan. He already goes for the Legion. A little debatable if he needs knights then, but also there's nothing else here. So I can understand taking the knights. Makes just for better options. Bright Future does take Gutenberg. He does get him with Alchemy together, so that's a really nice combination. He already goes for him. Moses did his work. He gave 3 food. That's, I think then, if Moses works out like this, he's actually pretty solid overall. That also means Bright Future decided against the revolution. Would have been a good option, but he does also have maybe just a better option to go for, yeah, Gutenberg here, and then probably take Alchemy for free, take Iron, Knights probably. He could have also considered skipping the Knights and take EG. That's probably what I would have done. It is a little greedy, I admit, since one copy of Knights is, yeah, the other copy of Knights is already gone, one copy of Swordsman is gone, and that's the second copy of Knights. But he has the Monarchy, and this EG would have been very valuable, I think. Might even consider skipping Iron and taking Knights and EG. But this is also fine. This has the problem that it's a lot of science cost, but he will build Alchemy very cheaply, will develop it very cheaply, and yeah. So I think it's also a close call if whether to take EG or all of these, and which to skip if you take EG. It's not that clear. Knights is probably too greedy, actually, but maybe something I would consider sometimes. Yeah, I'm glad to get the EG for one civil action with this wonder in hand. That's pretty good, obviously. I decided to not see it, interestingly. I don't look at these replays before I record, so I really have no clue what event I saw that I decided against seeding. But also the immigration against Homer is probably just not a good idea. So that might also be just the reason why I didn't seed. And I take EG, Richland, build the lab, take Theology. Just a solid option, especially with Jeanne d'Arc, I guess. That's a technology I don't, want to build, but sometimes you have to build it, so I would classify it like that. I draw some interesting events. It's also always nice to know about strength events and being able to play a little greedy or go into a position where you win them, but that's mostly kind of hard to do. Yaba already takes Nostradamus for 2 here. He has Homer, who he will probably use to build another warrior or even swordsman. He goes for Nostradamus, builds a lab, and doesn't make use of Homer for one more turn. But maybe the science income is also just more important. He might consider just playing Homer one more turn, maybe. I mean, 3 culture versus 1 possible rock. That's actually not that clear what's better. But also, okay, against the information that he gains with Nostradamus possibly. So then if 2 cards are being seeded, then that's, yeah. It's a close call as always. Maybe this is more correct. Bright Future builds the pyramids. It takes Code of Law for 2. And did develop Alchemy. Yeah, this is getting a little costly science-wise. And after going for this, you might consider taking the Cultural Heritage actually, but the Urban Growth might still be the better cards. Yeah. Not that clear. Development of Warfare is revealed. I can use that. I go for the Iron. It's the second copy of Iron. I think it is still kind of important card. It's a little late in H1, but it's still a decent timing. I can go for it next turn, and I can just take another rich land, so I can actually just upgrade 3 time if I don't have anything else to do. I do get the Fighting Band out. That's also actually a good tactic to contest for colonies with. And I sadly cannot take the Cartorial free. It's just too expensive to pay 2 civil actions and only have information about 1 colony. Yeah, I do have another in hand, but that's that. We see planning revealed. The options are trade routes, civil life, settlement, and I guess generally settlement is the best. Gives a civil action and 3 food. Sometimes civil life if the science is more important. And trade routes in rare cases where you just get exactly the thing to finish a wonder or something, or yeah. Generally, I guess settlement is the best. Yeah, but was not prepared for the warrior apparently. Did not have a free. Cannot build warrior. Yeah, did not have a free one. That's a little sad with the Legion especially. And populates 2 times builds the warrior, takes the St. Pete's. Very good option. We see Bright Future, Seeding, Development of Politics revealed. And he goes for Knights. Upgrades this for completely free with the Urban Growth. Has the medieval army, so he's strongest also. Takes Bread and Circus. Let's see, is there a Kuberton in the game? There actually isn't, but he might still just need this. He actually will need this. He will use 2 yellow cubes, so he will have to go for this next turn. Takes a Frugality. Wait, he actually doesn't necessarily has to have to build it, since he doesn't run into uprising problems like this. Yeah, but it feels bad to be on 2 unhappy faces and H1 events start, unless you have seen the rebellion. That's why seeing the rebellion is so much value actually. I go for the iron and 2 upgrades and build the wonder actually. So I thought, well, I don't get stronger than anyone, but yeah, it's just some culture income already. It's also, I might not be. Does it benefit me in any way, strength-wise? Well, yeah, for a foray, right? For a possible foray against Yaba, if he doesn't get stronger now in the next turn, I mean. Yeah, but We see Java revealing development of crafts. Just builds the Basilica and goes for Swordsman. So he actually is even strongest here. Bright Future decides to not see it. So it indicates that he probably hasn't seen the rebellion and he wants to build the Branded here. Builds the other alchemy. So we have seen Gutenberg has done a really good job. This is if you use Gutenberg like this, it's just S tier. It's just plain S tier. You get one extra civil action. I mean, Saladin, for example, I would say is one of the best leaders because he just gives a civil action, and this one gives one civil action, gives refund on things you want to do anyway, and culture with it. So if you can make him use like that to build alchemies like that into H1, it's crazy. And then in some situations you can take journalism and it gives you culture and you take a refund for that, and yeah, it's super good. And yeah, for his last actions, he actually 2, 4, 5, 2, 4. He has a full hand and he decided to take a breakthrough and couldn't do anything else actually. That feels bad. That's maybe also misplay taking the frugality there or the Code of Law for 2. As I said, it's a lot of science cost that he had there. And on the other hand, if he didn't take the frugality, he could now take patriotism instead. So it's not the end of the world. So maybe a misplay is overstatement. I do not see it. I did see what's on top, but I think I can't do anything about it, and I honestly really don't know. And I just... Did I actually see the rebellion? No. Well, I was not willing to build a theology. I think it's not good enough. Yeah, maybe it's an interesting decision because, well, I just go for the breakthrough here for 3 civil actions. In hindsight, I don't know. Is that a misplay? Can I just not lose the game right now if there's a rebellion and then there's a Conman on 3 and which I can take because I have lose 2 civil actions? Yeah, I just decide let's go for the breakthrough. I will want to... It's pretty likely there's 4 governments. It's pretty likely that one will drop until my turn. He wants a 2, obviously, but then he will probably not take that. I would assume he has a full hand. He wants to get rid of... He wants to go for the monarchy, probably. Science-wise, that makes more sense. And yeah, I mean, it's an interesting decision, but I went for that. I draw some territories. That's always good. A tactic. We see Java seeding. There's a pestilence. Did I populated, right? No, I upgraded and take breakthrough. And yeah, maybe I'm just glad that there's no strength event. Actually, I just remember I have information about a lot of strength events, right? Yeah, it doesn't. It just shows the ones. It doesn't show the ones I saw, sadly. But I did see a lot of strength events, so I could at least yeah, be kind of chill about strength overall. And I saw the pestilence and I couldn't even repopulate, so now I can repopulate, and that's also why I didn't build theology, obviously, because that would mean I had to destroy something. So it all made sense. It all made sense. Let's go to Java. He takes efficient upgrade for 3. Yeah, I mean, maybe I inspired him with just taking a yellow card for 3 civil actions. Apparently that's meta now. There's a Code of Law, there's Justice System. I didn't take any of those as well, so he just does the same efficient upgrade. It will be a good card at some point. He wants to go for coal. Yeah, and like this, he will also be on 12 signs, right? Or yeah. Also ready for the governments. Bright Future goes for the Court of Laws. Takes Breakthrough. And Strategy for 3. Even more times to spend Patriotism for 1. I mean, yeah. He did have hand space problem. You could also argue that maybe going for iron is interesting here. But this is also, he just had hand space problem, and that enabled him to take the strategy for 3. It's actually a pretty important card overall. And yeah. This turn, no government dropped, so I do go for the justice system. And thanks to the breakthrough, I would still be on enough signs on my next turn to just go for a government. I do take Ken because they are just pretty important, and I populate. And I had to populate, so taking cavalrymen was not possible. And yeah, Ken are just a little more important than cavalrymen, so I take these. Especially with 2 knights around, it's not that likely that they will contest the other cavalrymen even. So I can possibly go for those. I keep the territories, I even draw 1 more, and I'm rewarded with the cannon pick with the perfect tactic. Let's keep it at that. Fortification, best card. I lose the Crusades, so some strength events in, but it's not the end of the world. Yaba goes for coal. It's actually a pretty nice timing for an iron skip, such an early coal. It means probably that rockwise this is always preferable, so that's a lot better than the iron. Mid H1, such an early H2 coal is always better in the long run. We see him upgrade the warrior to swordsman, so he's strongest again. And that's his turn. He won't have enough signs to go for government. That's the downside, but he has a project with just upgrading the coal, so it's fine. There's a good harvest revealed. That's always a little awkward with staying on 3 food then, but probably he will now take the selective breeding, I assume. Yeah. Went for the iron. Takes corruption, actually. Phew. Yeah, taking journalism was 3, right? Here. Wait, no. Where is it? Gutenberg action to take journalism, yes. Then he wanted a leader, a very good leader also. Understandable. Yeah. I'm not a fan of corruption, like ever, but I don't know. What's the alternative? I don't know. Going for selective breeding at once instead of iron, but that also doesn't fix corruption. That's also 1 rock. Too few, too short. So it would mean to maybe take Maria Theresa instead of Nobel. That could be a good option, especially with the selective breeding. And then he would fix corruption. I think in that scenario, I would prefer it that way around. Maria Theresa, I think actually she's legit S tier in 3-player, 4-player. If you have food income. I cede vast territory, and I'm not able to win it, but I'm able to possibly make him build an army that is legit. Yeah, another reason why he would love Maria Theresa now in hand, I guess, but he didn't know that, obviously. And yeah, I can go for the selective breeding. I'm pretty happy about that, and I will gladly take Theresa then. I can upgrade it twice, go for Theresa. I don't need to elect her now. I can also just elect her next turn. I don't have very concrete plans to go for cannons now. So I prefer to hold one more card. That's actually pretty important. And to draw one more card. I will actually probably play the fortifications even. Because I want to actually keep all of them, right? I don't. And I can hold one more thanks to the library. I think this is such an underrated ability actually. It's almost like having an extra red cube almost, right? And yeah, that I think that's the one thing that makes this wonder a little too strong compared to the other wonders. I would yeah, remove this ability and keep the extra civil action. I like that also thematically. I mean, also thematically, this is also nice, and maybe it's even not that too strong, but I think it's the most what this shows. This is the best combination: one science and culture, and then you just have this extra ability, and we just saw how strong it is, especially for colonization, but in general, it's super strong. If I would balance the game, I would remove this extra card, the military card. I would keep the extra civil card. Java reveals the border conflict, and that is the one nice thing about not winning the vast territory. I actually am not the weakest here, so dodged that one like a pro. And yeah, goes for another coal upgrade, takes EG, and probably the breakthrough. Yeah, takes the breakthrough. Looks good. He has the hand space problem actually, so maybe it's not that good. Yeah, right now he has the problem that he has to get rid of irrigation first, so he could not develop a colony that's on 3 civil actions, if I'm not missing something. So, something to look out for. Bright Future develops the strategy and plays patriotism, builds a knight, populates, builds a warrior, interestingly even. Takes urban growth, populates, builds a mine. Why not upgrade it? Because it's cheaper. It costs a civil action, so I don't know. Yeah, but overall, this looks pretty good, right? He has a lot of civil actions, a lot of science, income, a lot of military actions, so it looks super solid. He has a good situation. Historic territory revealed, and I'm not sure how much I was willing to bid. Probably those two, actually. Not overbid on that territory, but it's also not nothing. And I want to get rid of warrior anyway to go for cannons at some point, and that's a sweet spot, I guess. And the common drops for me finally, and I am well prepared for that. Can go for that. And now I decide to swap to Theresa. I will make use of the science now already, and I can make use of the rocks next turn. Definitely. I built another warrior. I think I didn't need that to defend, but I have seeded 1 or 2 colonies, and it's an efficiency thing, military action wise, because I know I will be willing to bid some warriors on the colonies. And I can take a journalism and opera. It also fixes corruption. That's another argument. And still take both of these cards. So yeah, I've discussed this concept already. I like both of these cards. They are creating win conditions. So I like it. I can actually go for one of these next turn with Theresa with the extra signs. I draw even another colony and a colonization card. So in that regard, very nice. Civil unrest revealed does nothing, as mostly. We see upgrade to coal. We see another swordsman being built, and he takes the Eiffel Tower. I think I would prefer the railroad here. I mean, it costs one civil action more, and the Eiffel Tower has the advantage that it will fix his happiness forever together with the Basilica. So yeah, you might argue that you have enough rock income like this, but the railroad is just, in general, I think a little better, especially with the coal. And 12 rock income is a lot better than 9 rock income. Yeah. Also, you might even argue that it's not even correct to take a wonder, but instead he maybe had to go for irrigation and build one. Because both selective breedings are gone, and I think it's not an option to just wait for mechanized agriculture. It might be very far away, and it will also free hand space if he does that. Maybe you might argue that he had to do this. It's a little sad that both of these wonders are here and not like something like here, because then he could do this irrigation turn and then the next turn take a wonder, because I do understand that you want to take a wonder with this rock income and the EG in hand, but I think the food fix might be more important here. Right Future thinks that too and offers Yaba a pact. It's good for both sides. Nothing to discuss. I would also offer that and accept it in both scenarios. Yeah, we see another iron being built. Takes Richland, Frugality, develops selective breeding to make hand space, and takes the cannon, which is pretty important. I did not reveal the tactic. That's obviously pretty important generally, not to reveal a tactic if you don't need to. As not to show the opponents what they have to build. I see it. Inhabited territory revealed. I have a lot of colonization cards, and that's a real treat with Maria Theresa. I have to use all of them, but it's definitely worth it. And now I have the whole package where Theresa shines a lot. I have a lot of food income, a lot of yellow cubes, and I decided to go for scientific method here. Possibly take rifleman, take a rev idea, and start building cannons. I built 3 even to get out of corruption, and one of the reasons I built so many is that I just have a war over territory, which I can possibly go to next turn. I have 10 rocks, even 11 with her, so I can just declare a pretty hurtful war over territory in the next turn. And yeah, this can promise to be one hell of a military game if I draw the correct cards. Because this is a crazy aggressive setup. I even have the... No, I don't. I don't have a happiness solution yet, but I don't need it yet. Yeah. Now we see the problem with not having developed the card yet. He could not go for the conman now. And does he go for Republic or what's the play now? Yeah, he has to go for Republic, but well, there's several options to get red cubes, right? So he could go Catherine or Napoleon here. Decides for Catherine. Maybe Napoleon would be a little better, but it costs also one action more. And he made use of those actions. I think he can really consider to just build an irrigation, because 2 irrigation are not enough in the long run. 3 irrigation is kind of playable. Right future uses the rich land and sets up a really nice economy, develops the cannon, patriotism in hand, frugality in hand. Clean turn, decides not to take the conmon. Let's go of the monarchy. Decides to go for an H3 government. Or even this republic also option. And here Vlada kind of blessed me with a really early Air Force, so that's a hell of a card. And I go for the Rev idea. I populate. No, I just populate. Okay. Once, build a cannon, make use of the extra rock, take reserves, populate again, and prepare an even more ugly War over Territory. And my first draw of the game is just 2 War over Cultures. Yeah, I don't even have abundant military actions, but now I don't need to manage them at all. I just can build as much as I can every turn and declare those wars, and am probably in a winning position already. We can look at the situation. Go away now. So yeah, my economy is pretty good. I would have other options as well, but I just drew these wars and already have a territory war in hand. Yaba has the food problem. Other than that, yeah, also to be fair, science problems. So not in the best spot actually. And he has a pretty good economy, but no culture yet. But he can catch up. I think if Yaba had 1 or 2 turns time, he could also fix all of his problems with computer possibly or multimedia. And yeah, he should have, I think, built the irrigation, not upgrade both. Then he would also have fixed that. Definitely not a game that is already decided, but I am pretty confident actually with those 2 wars that I drew, that I have drawn, that I'm in a winning position. And Yaba builds more swordsmen, sees my strength, doesn't want to eat an aggression, builds the Eiffel Tower, goes to 10 culture income, and can fix the science issues next turn. And as we said, there are good lab leaders. There's Gates, Einstein. So computers will be a good option for him. Takes an urban growth. Maybe reserves more important, because food is more important. And he has a lot of civil actions. The rocks are not that important for him. Economic progress revealed. That's pretty good. Rock-wise for the other guys, but also food-wise for me. That's super good with Maria Theresa. We see a journalism being built with an urban growth. And one can. Upgrades the mine. So this is actually a pretty good civilization, and this looks definitely like it can win. He will need an H3 government at a good point of time. But if he gets that, yeah. I decide to go for a war on Java. I don't know about Bright Future's potential with possibly mobile artillery. And I see 6 swordsmen with Java, and he can actually. I think there's one scenario where it's dangerous, and that's when rockets drop, and he has defensive army. Then he can actually, I don't know if win, but he can contest it quite well. But it's not that likely that it drops, right? And yeah, I would definitely always declare this war on him. I can go for 2 air forces. Take cavalrymen, possibly for an even better tactic. Take the engineering, just because it's a good card and there's nothing else here. Yeah. Possibly I can still go later on after those wars if I don't draw another, which is pretty unlikely. Because the goal is actually pretty clear to just declare war after war now. Probably. Then I can go for engineering and opera later or something. Java goes to the computers. Rockets didn't drop, so he has to eat this war. Can do nothing about it. Take satellites. Yeah. With his wonders, it is actually a survivable situation, so it's playable for him. Yeah, that's during the war, so I was willing to build that one warrior I had, but that one is actually for free for Bright Future. That's pretty good for him. And we see him go for Fleming, interestingly, and democracy. So he builds the cannon, adapts it. So possibly, or obviously, actually didn't have the mobile artillery. Dispense a unit of warriors. Increase population. Dispense a unit and increase population. Why did he dispense that? Yeah, probably he calculated something like he will need the military actions next turn if he wants to defend the war or something. I'm not certain. Looks a little. He does have 4, right? Played the patriotism, so he does have 4. Ah, yeah. With that might indicate arms industries or something, because with some extra rocks he would be able to build 4 cannons. With those racks not, but if he would get extra rocks, he would be able to build 4. But he would still be able, I don't know. I don't know about this warrior that got disbanded. Maybe you find a better explanation than me. Yeah, I do get 6 yellow cubes. It's the actual heaven with this woman. I can just go for the war over culture immediately and take a military theory, which can also prove to be very important, and just populate a bunch. Build another air force. So there might still be the same problem that he gets rockets, I guess, but it didn't drop again. Java just goes for Gandhi and decides to ignore the war. Can not really do a lot about it. He could possibly go for modern infantry, but he could also just only upgrade it 3 times, but it might still be a good option because that's actually a lot of culture, right? It's from 2 to 5, so 3 times 3 is 9, so it's 18 culture that he would save by that, and he would use his rocks, so yeah. But I can understand that he makes this play. I mean, also, he is on 10 culture income, and his civilization, other than, yeah, this situation doesn't look too bad. He has to assume that I have no other war in hand, actually, if he wants to go for a winning play. So it might be just the play to ignore military completely and, yeah, go for a greedy play from now on with Gandhi. Bright future seeds, popularization of science is revealed, some extra culture for Yaba. With his computers, we see the democracy. So this is a really strong civilization here overall. Revideer, tanks, modern infantry. So he has a lot of options to defend himself. Patriotism even, another patriotism even. And dispense units of knights to build a library. A little greedy maybe, because, well, it's just the same reasoning, I think. He doesn't assume I have another war, because it's so unlikely. I had one draw H3, and it's super unlikely to draw 2 wars. I mean, it's not that super unlikely. It's actually something like, I don't know, 20% maybe or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just a gut computation. I saved in my memory that drawing a war is something like 50-50, around 50-50 if you draw 3 cards, and yeah, then it's a little less than a half of 50-50, drawing 2 wars in that draw. So it can happen. And yeah, I guess that's why we see this knight being disbanded. But he has a lot of rocks, he has 2 patriotisms, all the ticks. He's in a good spot to defend himself. I take the spoils of war and I declare the next war on Bright Future. And I don't have enough science to go for the military, but I do have Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman says, you have enough science. I think I counted it actually after the game, and she gave, I forgot the number, it was something ludicrous, like for 15 science or something, or maybe even 20, maybe more like 15. It's actually crazy how good that worked out. So I can go for the military theory, that makes a huge difference, obviously. And now I even have the perfect spot where I can go for Nelson Mandela and elect him. And can I still take this pro sports? No, I don't. I don't take it. I could, but it's pretty unlikely that I will have the science for that, so I don't. Rather take the efficient upgrade to be able to upgrade the scientific method, which I randomly developed at some point, probably to make hand space, and yeah, now I can. It's not this turn, right? Yeah, now I can go for the efficient upgrade to upgrade that. Can build another can build even another can. Go to 71 strength. Yeah, Yaba just says, let's build some movies. Understandable. Goes to 18 culture income. And takes EG pro spots. And has to pray that he cannot be hit again. Wait. I actually didn't show it, right? I have drawn 2 other military cards and I have drawn another war. So some games Vlada blesses you. Some games Vlada doesn't bless you. This one is definitely one of the games where I got blessed with some good draws here. So this war means that I can make someone resign, basically. In the next turn, Bright Future takes Air Forces and builds 2 Air Forces and goes 248 strength. So that's quite the lead already, and it might be the last turn already. And at this point, the chat was a little interesting. No, they were, Java said something like, I'm smiling, I have a grin on my face, because this is actually crazy that I can declare another war on him here, and I can even build one more Air Force, go to 76 strength. And yeah, I chose Yaba actually because you have seen it's tournament meta. I'm actually not a huge fan of tournament meta. I actually think there's some arguments to be made to have names anonymous in such a tournament. Because here's the thing. People play slow because it's better to play slow, because you have information about your opponents and you have information where you have to take risks or not. And I think that has no that should not be part of a game where a resource like real life time has impact on game decision making. And I think that's actually a huge argument against or for a step to anonymize names. Also here, it should just not be a consideration who to target here. If we take the premise that one game should be something like what's the name for that? Integrity. One game of Through the Edges should have its own integrity, and it should not be this decision should not be influenced by the tournament standings. Definitely, that's 100% my opinion, but having the information, it would be stupid not to do it, obviously. So I target Yaba, who has the better standing after the first 2 games. That's that. My 2 cents on that. I think there's a strong argument to be made to anonymize names in such games. I do understand that it also takes away a lot of flavor. So there's also arguments against it. But still my opinion. I think I would prefer for the names to be anonymized, and especially the argument with the time, because you see the other groups, everyone is playing slow, and it's not only because they want to be careful with the turns, and I do understand they take their time also to think about the turns multiple times. It's something I don't do that often, but also it's just an advantage. If you are slower on average than your opponents and they are further in the games, then you have extra information where you have to take risks and where you can have not to take risks, where you have to declare war on that one or that one. It's just extra information. So playing slow is actually correct, and I think that should not be incentivized. Yeah. Let me know in the comments what you think about the topic. And Java resigned. That's quite obvious. Was the correct move. Autonomous territory is revealed, and I think the rest of the game is not too interesting. My lead is just too big right now. If it was going on like 3 more turns or something, that might be different, because I have nothing but those wars, and he has an economy, and he has a civilization. I have cans. So that's that. I can even actually go for a pro spot. So Mandelia even does some extra culture. Last turn, not very meaningful. And yeah, I would definitely prefer to live in Bright Futures colony civilization, but mine is the one that wins. That's just the way it is sometimes. The lead was too high for impacts to be possible to catch up. But as I said, if there was like 2 more turns, it was a pretty quick H3. There was something like 2 more turns. This might be a different consideration, and yeah, but like that, I was kind of blessed this game. It was really good RNG for me, obviously. And yeah, if you want to win a group like that, you need sometimes RNG for you, because sometimes you will have RNG against you. That is how it is. I think with 4 equally skilled opponents, here I got the lucky end. I do think that I was in a good position to also compete for the win, even if I had drawn only 1 war or maybe even no war. I had a pretty good economy going into H3. I had pretty good options, but like this, it was very easy, and I could even decide to make the more direct opponent in the group standing resign. So yeah, let me know what you think about the tournament meta thing. I think it's an interesting topic. And see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Why doesn't it work? See you now. Goodbye.